Silly.
All right. Good afternoon, you guys. I have the pleasure of interviewing the wonderful Beth Schadler. I am always just blown away with your energy, Beth. And, I love your go-getterness, your drive, your just passion is contagious. So I'm really excited to interview you. We were going to do a second round with Miss Jen Hubble, and she lost her husband. So Beth was kind enough to step in, which I'm super excited because she was going to be my next person anyways to interview. Um, so I just wanted you to share a little bit about yourself and I like Kimmy's like five in a minute or less. Like tell us about your life story and how you got into real estate. So if you don't mind, just share a little bit about yourself and all the good things.
Here comes Kimmy. Um,
Yay!
well, if you're gonna be contagious, you might as well have fun doing it. If you're good, hi Kimmy, you made it. It's awesome. Okay, so Kimmy Corey just asked me that first question, so good timing. So how did I get into real estate, right? Or what's my whole life story? Or just the real estate part? I used to be in the outdoor industry. And I had a really great time being in the outdoor industry. I had this like logoed out van with Teva footwear, and I traveled all around the Southeast and went to kayaking events and kiteboarding events and campfires. And it was my job to like give out free stuff. So everybody loved me. And I met tons of people everywhere. And I went to outdoor stores and did education on how to sell the product to people. And that was super fun. And then I got into sales with that, but I kind of hit a ceiling and I decided, you know what? I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to pack up my stuff. And I was really into yoga at the time. And I'm like, I'm going to sell my stuff, put on a backpack, and I'm going to travel to India and Nepal and places like that and learn yoga and meditation. Well, that was great. And along the way, I found myself and I found a husband at a bus stop in Mexico. And then we had some children and lived in his home country of Liechtenstein and did the whole mother thing for a while I started a hammock company because I could not just like be a mother because that was not stimulating enough for me. I was going crazy. I had to like get my extra energy out somehow. So I was like, let's start a hammock company in a country that you don't even speak the language. And let's go to events and people are going to come up to you and start speaking German. You're going to be like, haha. Do you speak English? So did that for a while. And then I was really missing Asheville. And so I said, Toby, can we move back? And he's like, yeah, I would love that. I'm like, okay, let's go. I was into breath work at the time. And I just made a TEDx talk on breath work and I'd gotten my breath work facilitation certification. And it was just rocking my world. I'm like, I'm going to come back to Asheville and I am going to be a breathwork facilitator and I'm going to be at Leaf and I'm going to be like changing people's lives and like doing all this stuff. And I got back here and I was like, who wants to do breath work? And I think one person was like, maybe what time? And I'm like, oh my God. And I realized like I was trying to come back to Asheville and be a healer in Asheville and it's not going to work. So to sum it up, I'd always wanted to try real estate. Always. It is right up my alley. I had a big fear though. And my fear was that it was cheesy. And my fear was that I would be judged like a used car salesman judged. Because I had this stigma in my head, like you couldn't be cool and be a real estate agent. So I'm out to prove that wrong. And also I said, who cares? I'm like early 40s. Who cares what these people think about me? Or I just want to do what I want to do. So forget that. So I said, I'm going to go get my real estate license. And my poor parents who have supported me through everything in life, all my wild adventures, all my crazy boyfriends, all my ideas, everything said, I don't know about real estate if that's really for you or not. And I was like, screw it. I don't care what you say. I'm going for it. And I did. And I just, with the support of my husband too, just flew through that exam, joined EXP as a new agent, which was kind of wild. And then united with my tribe of people in Asheville and have flailed and have triumphed and have cried and have laughed and have had this like feeling in my heart of like every day's an adventure and like, oh, I get to do this. And oh, I'm my own boss. I can have like a huge business or a little business or business on the side, or I can do whatever I want and nobody's going to tell me. I was gonna say nobody's gonna tell me what to do because that's not true because everybody tells you what to do in real estate. But no, but nobody gets to decide how I run my business but me. I get to make the choices. And nobody can fire me except for one client. And then we just go, oh well, wasn't a good match. I haven't been fired yet, as far as I know.
But you fired people, which is
But
lovely.
I fired, you know, you've made it when you fire your first client. There's another one that I wanted to fire that I didn't fire. I stuck it out. And you know, you've come to a pivotal point in your career over the hump when you don't stick it out anymore. The first one, she was scary. Like her emotion, you just never knew who you were going to get when you talked to her on the phone, and she would scream and yell at me. But I stuck it out. I was like, I'm in this deep. We were under contract. I'm not leaving. This other one, I was like, this is not working for me. This is not in alignment with how I want to live my life. And I let them go. And I'm like, we've made it. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah, that's how I got into real estate is I just went against everything that felt comfortable and stayed true to my heart and followed through. And I have never, ever felt more in flow and more aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing and what I also like really enjoy doing.
I love that. And parents that you respect the hell out of and they've been through it all, for them to say that to you, it it probably hurt a little bit, but at the same time, I'm sure it just fueled your fire. And like I had that similar situation, and it's like now I get to talk about it and how that's just like another pivot point in your life, like another place, right?
It's a detachment, from being the child in the family into being like an independent adult, which is really hard to do because no matter how old we get, we still want the love and approval of our parents. And it's not that they're not going to love us. It's just we realize, thanks for your thoughts, but I'm still me.
Yeah.
Spe-
I love that.
Speaking of Corey, I just got a bribe from my mother to change my hair back from pink to blonde. In monetary value, a bribe. So it's still happening.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So tell me, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced during your first 2 years in real estate, and how have you overcome them? So I know this is a huge, huge question, but maybe mention just a couple that like your biggest things that you've overcome. Yeah.
Not knowing what I'm supposed to be doing. You get the license and then you're like, okay, now what do I do? And there's a million ways to do this job. And there's books written with the recipe. Just do these things and you'll be successful. And then you look at the things and you're like, yeah, I still don't understand what I'm supposed to do. It's like, it's right there. Look at this page 63 tells you exactly what to do. And then we're like, so I guess the mental mindset fight with myself of knowing the things that I needed to be doing, but too scared to do some of them. And the fear of seeming like an imposter because I was so new. And it's really important for me not to seem like an idiot or be judged. So I was nervous in the beginning to start making videos about real estate. I thought it had to be done in a certain way. And I was nervous in the beginning to pick up the phone and start having conversations with my sphere about real estate or ask for business. I still am not good with that. Like I'm much better at talking to strangers because I don't ever want to seem salesy or cheesy or pushy or anything like that. These are my buddies and I want their respect. So that was a hurdle. And there were some days that I thought, I know exactly how to do this. And then the next day I'd wake up and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. The
It's
next
like
day I'd wake up and
motherhood.
be like, I got this.
Yeah.
So it was like this roller coaster. And then that like mental fight of like realizing that there were things that I needed to do that I wasn't doing, and that I was being really busy, keeping myself busy, but not doing the things that move the needle that really got me business. So, and it's been an experiment. Like, I would say your first 2 years in real estate, just you have to experiment because you don't know where your groove is going to be. Because if you pick a groove that is not you, then it's going to suck your time and you're not going to be happy. And people are going to feel it and they're not going to be attracted to you and they're not going to want to work for you with you. So, you really have to find a way to prospect and get clients and work with clients in a way that feels so authentic and so enjoyable for you, because it's all energy. Real estate is just all energy based.
That is gold. And something, can I add to your story a little bit? Because I
Please.
think you and I have known each other year and a half? No, a year? Maybe a little bit more. I don't know, but the time that I have known you, I have seen just this transition that I seriously have tears in my eyes because it is so cool to watch, Beth, and I'm just so glad you're in my court, you know. But you have, I know you're somebody who will listen and hear all the things that you should be doing, and I think, you know, I was somebody who was part of that. I was like, do events, like that's how I do it. Come on. But I watched you say nope. And you know, I went to an event with you where you heard someone talk about YouTube. You're like, that's it. And you've had that fire and that passion. And then you just charged and you got that person. And I think that's like a huge part of your success too. You tracked down that person that was on stage in front of like 5,000 people, which I love. I was like, wow, she's awesome. That was like my first falling in love with Beth moment. But you got him with you and you're like, this is what I want to do. This is it. And then you found people like Toby, your husband, to support you, who's really good at that stuff, to kind of like bring him in and just let's do it. And I love that about you. And you've just like turned down these opportunities that keep popping up. And then another thing is your 55 plus community. You use your network and your person that you knew that was like, you know, just mentioned kind of something around this idea. And you were like, hey, I got an idea for you. Let's sit down and talk. And you just went after it. And I think like that is such a huge thing that you need in this business, is just that. You have to have the drive, but you also have to like turn things down, and you have to like, I almost think of like Wonder Woman, like you know, like yeah. And
Screw you, real estate coach. Forget you. I don't need that podcast or not. I mean, or like a newsletter or all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just seen that focus like really narrow in recently, and I love that. I mean, in the last 6 months, I would say, right? Like
Yeah.
you've gotten super hyper focused. And I also kind of equate that to, and please correct me if I'm wrong, like going to therapy, which I do as well, which I hope that's okay that I just shared that.
You outed me. You outed my personal development plan. I didn't want anyone to know I got help from anyone else. Just all me. Fine.
But
yes.
That like personal growth, it like completely correlates, right, with also like the focus and the energy and not going into those cattle trails of your brain and all of that. So
yeah, I'll let you in on a secret. My favorite hobby is like self-development and growth and figuring out what I'm doing here on earth and how I can be better and how I can heal.
yeah. Oh, I love that. So
That's
good.
what I love to do. And
So
so it's a lifelong journey. We'll see. Check in with me in like 45 years. I'll let you know what I figured out, because I figure I'm halfway there with a halfway point. And this is what it looks like. A pink hair and a nose ring and a tattoo.
Yes.
So
okay. So next on my agenda is so you talked about some things you've overcome, which I love. Can you share some memorable experiences or success stories from your early days in the real estate industry?
oh yes. Okay, so in the beginning, I don't remember who told me to sign up for Zillow. I think Abby. I think I went to a panel and Abby was speaking and she's like, I did Zillow in the beginning. I was like, Zillow? Okay, let's do Zillow. Boom. Let's pay them a lot of money. And I worked, I think it was my second call ever from Zillow. And it was this woman who wanted to buy a piece of land. And she was a little bit hippy dippy and she like just wanted to like have a piece of land. She could put like her RV and just live off the land. There's a little creek nearby and she had her boyfriend with her. And so, she's going to buy this piece of land. We got it under contract. And then we started looking into it. Now, this is my first real estate deal. I know nothing about real estate or land. So it just happened that it was steep slope, protected ridge. There was no place to park anything because it was a mess. And she ended up wanting to get out of it. And she was kind of mad at me because she felt like I didn't know what I was doing. And I did not know what I was doing, but I was trying and I learned a lot. I did a lot of stuff. I was very busy trying to figure it out. And so she had just decided to pull out of the contract. And I was on the phone with my mentor, Justin, and I was crying. And I was like, this is too much. I can't do this. It's just so much. And my phone beeped and it was a Zillow call. And I answered the Zillow call and they're like, hey, we really, we're working with somebody already, but we've really found this house and he's really busy. Can you please help us? I'm like, real estate? Yes. And so like, I just went out there and I met them and I showed them the house in Candler and it was 650,000 or something like that. And they called their other realtor who was too busy and they canceled the contract. They signed with me. We made an offer that night. We got it accepted the next day and I was under contract. And I was like, ooh, that's fun. What a difference a day can make. So that was I love that story because that was right in the beginning. And I called my mentor and I was like, real estate's awesome. And he's like, yeah, it's great. And I'm like, yeah, it can also be really frustrating. Yeah. And what's funny is I'm still 2 years later working with my first client I ever spoke with on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, no, he never bought.
Oh no.
He never bought. I have some wild real estate stories. But so much happens, and that I'm a traveler and I'm an adventure junkie, and I really like that cortisone rush. And real estate really, really does it for me. What was the thing that happened the other day that I told you guys about? Oh, we've had haunted homes. There was I got under contract for a house, and the neighbor kept making offers trying to buy my buyers out of the contract. First they offered 10,000, then they offered 25,000, then they offered 50,000. And my buyers had never seen the property ever, ever, ever. And they stuck to their guns and they're like, nope, we're going to keep it. And so that was a wild ride as well.
That's crazy. I love it. And you just stuck it out. And I know through that too, like part of the success there was not inserting yourself and just being the liaison of information and just sticking to it and telling them, encouraging them, which I love.
Yeah, because I really had to keep that in mind because of course I didn't want them to sell the contract. Then we'd have to start all over and we were so far in. But my fiduciary duties, of course, what were to like present offers from other people to them to buy them out of their contract. So
just bizarre. We need to write a book of all the bizarre stories. But
I know you forget them so fast because the next bizarre story happens so quickly. But that's why I love it.
Yes. Okay, what strategies or we've talked about some of them, but what strategies or techniques did you find most effective in building your client base up to this point and generating leads in being a new real estate agent?
So the first one that I did is someone said you have to do social media. And I just did Facebook and just occasionally when I wanted to. But then I hired for $200 a month a social media person to post these weird like Canva templates. There was like, it's I don't know, maybe it was Testimonial Tuesday or like, these things that were very not Beth Schadler at all. They, like, here's a picture of an apple pie. Welcome to fall. And I'm like, Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed right now. And so I did that for a couple months and then I was like, I can't, this is not me. And so people said you have to get a I like 2 years ago, I was not on Instagram or TikTok or any of those things. I still don't care. I never look at them. I only just post on them. But they're like, you have to make reels. And I'm like, okay, how do I make reels? And so I went into a Facebook group. I think I went into West Asheville Exchange and I was like, I need someone to follow me around with a camera for 2 hours once a week for 25 bucks an hour while I make reels. Well, I ended up finding someone younger, which was great because they knew what they were doing and I had no idea. So they taught me how to make reels. And we did that for a while and it was awesome and it was super affordable. And it had a really big impact because my natural personality is quite silly. And because I was new to real estate, I wasn't going on there and being like, when you make an offer, you want to make sure to blah, no, watch out for this because I had no idea. So I just went on and did topics about real estate and made them silly and funny and did voiceovers because that was my comfort zone. And then as I grew and knew a little bit more knowledge about the real estate industry and what to expect and what to watch out for, I would start talking to the camera. Now, the way I was already kind of comfortable talking to the camera is through breath work because I was already leading online Zoom breath work things where I had to be in front of a lot of people on camera. And I'm sure a lot of us experienced that through COVID as well. So then that translated into short form content, which put me out in front of my sphere and reminded them obnoxiously a little bit, but in a fun way, that I was a realtor every single day. So I started getting lots of calls from my sphere of influence, which was awesome. Now, keep in mind, my sphere of influence when I left Asheville was a group of bohemian folk artists. So they're not the like uber wealthy Biltmore Forest people. So, and that's okay, but it's great practice and it's fun to work with your friends most of the time. So then I went to Build 22 with Corey and Kimmy and Kristen, and we had a great time. And we heard Levi Lassick talk on stage, and I already had this in the back of my head, but he showed us some numbers on what he was doing with YouTube, and I was like, I'm doing this wrong. I don't want to work. I mean, it's not that I don't want to work with my bohemian hippie friends. I do. I also want to work with people relocating from states that have a higher cost of living. And this is a great way to reach those people because really, what do we all want? We want exposure nationally, ideally globally, but we want exposure nationally. How can we get that? The most bang for my buck has been YouTube. And so we consistently release 2 videos a week. And I really have to say, I don't know if I would have not done it, but I would have had a really hard time doing it on my own. So anybody that's trying to do it on your own, I see you and it's hard, but you can do it. It's just a harder learning curve. So luckily my husband had a little bit of film background. His dad is a documentary filmmaker. So he helped set up the situation. He researched, oh, this light and yada yada. And we made a studio in our basement in a corner and we put up the lights and I put up this little thing that says all about Asheville, and I just started. And our first ones are not great, and I should probably remake them by now because we've been doing it about 6 months now, and everything has changed. The way I deliver, the way I talk, you just get so much better so quickly, kind of like you do in real estate. In the beginning, you have no idea what you're doing, and you sound like an idiot, pretty much. And then, half a year later, you're like, I got this. It's a pretty sharp, steep learning curve, but you can do it. And then I've just gotten more comfortable. And what is so beautiful about this lead generation technique is that the people that are coming to me already know I have pink hair. They already know I am Beth Schadler. Here's how I talk. Here's the way I present myself. Here's what I'm into. Here's my story. All this stuff. They already know me. We've already spoken pretty much in their head. And they know me and love me and they're calling me up because they want to work with me. And the first thing they always say is, are you taking new clients? I'm like, girl, am I? So now I'm getting all my systems down, and I get maybe 8 to 10 leads a week of buyers relocating to the Asheville area that want to work with me, which is awesome.
That is so cool.
It's so cool. So, and a lot of them, I don't know why I attract 50 to 70. That's not, oh my God. I attract middle age and 50 to 70-year-old people. And I also have that partnership with Julian Woods, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But like that's just who wants to work with me. And that's fine. I'm 45 years old. I can handle that. But what's great about that clientele is they're at the end of their career. They're probably selling their family home. They're downsizing. So they have some money to work with. It's not as tricky financially as first-time home buyers. Um, yeah. So I'm just really enjoying that.
I love that. And just to recap a little bit, what I hear you saying, which I just really want everybody to hear this, is one, you figured out your technique here is you figured out what you really wanted to do and you found the people. You also made it affordable for yourself. And three is you went after it and stayed consistent. I feel like that consistency, heard you say that, like the two videos a week, like, and the fourth thing was, yeah, well, I already said the second thing, finding the people that are good at it and are successful and kind of talk to them and figure out an interview, and that information is free. It's everywhere. Like, and people are willing to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me into what kind of mentorship or guidance or people have you plugged into that have really helped your success?
It's a really good question because I am a sponge and I love to learn, and I would stay in learning mode as long as possible because execution can be intimidating. Um, Elena, I really admire Elena Kavorgan with she does a lot of YouTube too. And when we get together, our brains just explode because we just bounce ideas off each other. And she's been wonderful. There's so like Julie Tallman does a lot of volume. Um, you all really, I mean, like my She Sparks gals probably give me the most fire in my pants when it comes
Mm,
to like motivation and alignment. I just feel like we're all very different people, but we all are united by this fire sort of that's in within us to be successful, but also be really good people and help
mhm.
people along the way too. Which is reassuring. It makes me like feel good about humanity and about realtors. um, and yeah, Julie Tallman, Justin Purnell, Rich Tomancini has been unbelievable for me personally. I am loosely affiliated with him, but he has taken me under his wing because he just believes in me, which is amazing. Jason Shimpaw as well has been very kind to me. There's been so many people who have reached out to me and offered help for nothing. Like they have nothing to gain from it. They're just offering help, which I really find unbelievable. There's nobody that I really kind of copy though. Like there's nobody that I am a direct stamp print of, which is I mean, everybody's got to be themselves. But like I've taken pieces from all my mentors and like put them in the pot and mixed them up. And then here's Beth Schadler. And I think we all have to do that because
Yeah.
when we follow someone else's path, it's not going to work for us. And then we have to like take little nuggets from each person and then put it in our hearts and then figure out what works there. And that's what I feel like I finally have done, because just the first 2 years, you're absorbing like all the options. And then you got to sit with it. You got to like put it in the oven and bake it for a minute and experiment with it. And then you got to sit with it. And then you got to be like, okay, here's my way. So
Yeah.
all I do now is YouTube and this partnership with the retirement community, which is called Julian Woods. It's being built and will be done in a year. So I meet with those are my seller people. And I have some sphere and I do neighborhood events for my neighborhood, which is not huge. And I'm on the HOA, the board for my neighborhood.
So beautiful. Yeah, three things. Like cap it at
That's it.
that. Don't
Done.
go anymore. Don't go crazy. And
Mm-mm.
I just want to encourage anybody that is listening to this recording too, like you can feel in this industry like you're on an island. And what Beth has done is formulated people who actually care about people and found people that would just want to support each other and uplift each other and like let the tides rise together, right?
Yeah,
And I love that because it's a ton of people. And I just encourage you all that are listening to not let yourself sit on an island because there are people out there that are willing to support you and feed into your business.
exactly. And I felt like that. And I almost joined teams so many times,
Yeah.
like so many times. I'm like, I just need someone to sit there and tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. But then when I actually thought about that, I was like, that's not what I want, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want for like one day. And then I'll be like, okay, I got it. But if somebody made me stand up and cold call for 3 hours, that would not be a happy life for me. That would
And
not
there,
do
yeah.
it for me. Now, some people, they love that and they need that and they do great business from that, but it's just not me. And there are so many times I thought, okay, I'm just going to join like this big group so I have support and so I have someone, some direction. And then I bounced it off mentors and I bounced it off different people. And they're like, Beth, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go work for someone else. You can do this on your own. We believe in you and we'll give you more support if you just ask us. So I started asking for exactly what I needed when I needed it, which was scary at first because I didn't want to seem incompetent. But then when I started asking for what I needed, then they just gave it to me with open arms. And then I'm like, found my way with that. Otherwise, I'd still be going, where am I? What am I doing? But and then She Sparks, just this has been life transforming. In the sense that like we didn't even know each other that
Mhm.
long ago. Like some of us knew each other for a long time, but not me. We were just roommates. And we were just like fell in love with each other.
Yeah.
And we were all just like, oh my gosh, we're like instant family because of what I just talked about. And you all and us as a group in She Sparks give me that feeling of a team without having to be like you all don't manage me, but we uplift each other and like we bounce ideas off each other. So you get all like the wonderful aspects of being on a team, but you don't have to pay for it. Like stop, you're not taking anything from my commission. We just give it to each other because we need it and we know that's what we need ourselves. And so boom, we give it to all of us. And there's no rules. There's no rules with She Sparks. There's just
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so wonderful. Yeah, I've been reading, do you remember the rainbow fish from when we were little?
No,
Oh my
no one
goodness.
ever read me that.
It's such a sweet book, and I remember my, like, library teacher or whatever reading it, and I this Christmas got it for my kids because I was like, "Oh, I had such fond memories of this book." But basically, and I just shared this story earlier this afternoon, um, but basically the fish has all these sparkly scales and nobody else in the ocean has them, and then this octopus comes and tells him, like, "You need to share your scales, and I promise it'll be okay." And he took one scale and he, like, reluctantly, like, gave a scale away, and all of a sudden everyone had one scale. And not saying you need to give things away, but what the book talks about for children, which I love, is just that when you start to give and give, like, your heart is fulfilled, and it really does. Like, that's what I love about what you're saying is, like, now you have the opportunity, what you're spending an hour of your precious time right now with all of us and people who are listening on the recording to share your knowledge and just help people, and it's fulfilling, right? It serves you in a way.
Absolutely, because also when we teach, we learn, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm honored to be here too.
Mm. So wonderful. Okay, so in hindsight, what advice would you give yourself in the beginning of your real estate career?
Hmm. Just
Anything
start
you would
with
have done differently?
what I know now. Like I would have just started with YouTube and like never done anything else.
I love it.
But
That's great.
yeah,
Easy.
I would have just done YouTube. Let me think if there's anything else. I was happy for the Zillow 6-month internship is what I called it, because it was like a paid, not paid me, I paid for the internship, but I ended up breaking even, and it gave me a lot of experience talking on the phone about real estate and showing homes and doing that with strangers. And I don't regret the Zillow thing. I do regret the Op City thing just because I was so tethered to my phone and I was so stressed about missing something. And with Zillow, I was often at dinner with my family, or I'd have to get up and leave during a family moment to answer a Zillow call and find someone on the other end who didn't know me or didn't know exactly who they were talking to and didn't care or respect me, or something like that. And I was like, that was sad for my heart that I did that. But yeah, I also love it because I got to see the other side of it and be like, I don't want that.
Well,
I
it's
need
great.
boundaries.
It's great advice for everyone who's listening to go ahead and do it, like set it up because it's helpful, but create boundaries that are so strong. And if you guys need help, like with the boundaries, call one of us because we will help you because there's settings and things you can do. And we could that's like a whole nother moment that we could take. But yeah, like boundaries, I feel like with that is super important. So you're not taking away from your family.
Yep, and I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
But every
That's great.
time I get a step closer to setting new boundaries, I feel so much more powerful and in my power. And it makes life so much more enjoyable.
Exactly. Yep. So good. Okay. I'm so curious about that. I know that these questions seem random, but they're really helpful when it's talking about Miss Beth Schadler.
Okay.
So, how did you leverage technology and digital tools to enhance your real estate business and stay competitive? I mean, it sounds like one of the things was that Toby did all the research to figure out lighting and when to post and how to, that kind of stuff.
Yep. So we ordered Mike Sherrard's class on, it's called The Social Agent. I think it's about $1,000. Maybe different now, but it was about $1,000. It covered LinkedIn, Facebook ads, Instagram, and YouTube. And we really only used YouTube. So there's probably, I don't know if there's a way to just get that, but whatever. So that's what we did. And then we read the YouTube Formula, which is a book that kind of talks about how YouTube works. And you're like, I know how YouTube works. Well, it's a little, there's a lot of intricacies there. And then I have a husband who's interested in YouTube. I don't watch YouTube. I'm just not into that. I don't watch a lot of that or social media at all. I scroll sometimes on Facebook. That's my deal because I'm 45. But so I leveraged my husband who had a genuine interest in it. And then the information that we got from these programs, and we just followed that recipe pretty much. And then I leveraged short form social media to stay in front of my sphere as a friendly reminder. And and then long form to get clients from other places to know about me.
My brain just went to this like crazy analogy, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, where you were talking earlier about like a pot of Beth Schadler and you put like your 3 things in and it wasn't like cookie cutter, but then from the YouTube, like you took the potatoes out or whatever and, put it on a different burner and you were like, this is how the algorithm works for YouTube. And this is what I will do because I like the thing that was in this pot,
Yes,
Yeah, I love.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
like how you pick the potatoes out and you only eat those.
Yeah.
Totally. And I just love talking and connecting and like being on I kind of like being on camera. And I just kind of come alive. I used to, and my maiden name was Beth Brockway. And so I always had this thing in my head, like, I was like, Beth Brockway reporting to you live from Asheville, North Carolina. So I already have been manifesting that for years, but now I get to act it out.
That's good. So I know we've been wanting to talk a little bit about your 55 plus. So this question can kind of, can be a spinoff. were there any unexpected opportunities or learning experiences that arose during your first 2 years in real estate? And how did they shape your perspective and approach to the industry?
Mm, you have good questions, Corey. Okay. Unexpected, yes. Like, so in the beginning, like I said, if it had to do with real estate and it was a phone call or whatever, I was there. It didn't matter what it was. It was like, I need a rental. I'm like, I don't do rentals, but I'll come meet you. Um, I was looking for a place for my parents when to rent when they came to visit, and this guy called me, and I posted like on Nextdoor or something like that. And this guy called me and he said, "Oh, I have a place that I rent by the month, and it might work for your parents." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll go visit you." Went to his house, and we just like he is an older gentleman, and he's into like meditation and all this stuff, and we just really connected, and we always kind of stayed in touch. And I helped him find a long-term renter for his home, which was actually his parents' home, really big house. And so then we always stayed in touch. And then he called me not too long ago and he's like, I think we're gonna sell the house. And I'm like, oh. He's like, we would like to talk to you. It's like, I'm in Mexico. He's like, we'll wait for you. Don't worry. I'm like, okay, cool. Got back from Mexico, ended up looking at the house, and it's huge. It's on 40 acres, like really close to Asheville. And like a like 2 million list like price, I think. Um I did so spoiler alert, I did not get the listing. What? Not yet is the word. And I ended up helping them buy a piece of property in Mars Hill, and I'm going to help sell his son his their house. And then he ended up hiring somebody else to list his parents' really big house, but there's been no traction yet. So the story's not over.
Yep.
And,
Good.
so that was
Yep.
super unexpected. That was just me, like, taking a phone call and being like, "Let's show up." The other thing was my parents were gonna move to Asheville, and
Wait,
they really. Oh, yeah.
pause. Can we pause right there? So going back to this guy, I love what you just said, and I just want to highlight that of
Yeah.
like continuing to still add value because yeah, he probably is going to come around and realize that you're it. So some people will get this bitter taste in their mouth and be like, ugh, no, I'm not even gonna talk to you. You didn't care about me. I'm not gonna care about you. But think back to the rainbow fish and continue to add value, continue to give your scales away because it probably, I mean, it's already served you, right? It's already served you. You've already sold a
Sure.
home, you've helped
And
buy land.
it's okay if I
Yeah,
don't sell that
right,
$2 million
right.
home. I still like that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
So
a place in my
highlighting
heart.
that. Yeah,
If he was
that's
a
cool.
jerk, it might be a different story, but he's
Yeah.
definitely not a jerk. And he's just trying to do the right thing for himself.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good point. And sometimes I can tell stories and then Corey can sum them up. And
Sorry, sorry. I just
I
was
love
like,
that.
but
No,
that's
I
such a
love
good
that
thing.
because I miss the point sometimes. Not I don't miss it, but I just don't wrap it up as well as you do. The other thing was that my parents were thinking about moving to Asheville, and they were contacted by a retirement community that was being built in South Asheville. Next is being built next to Biltmore Park area across the street next to Lake Julian. And my dad called me and he said, this guy is really nice. We really like him. And, you should just reach out to him and introduce yourself, and offer to help them. They don't know anybody in Asheville, and they're opening this whole community, and they could probably use some help. And so I did. I emailed him and I said, hey, here's who I am. I've been in Asheville since 2001. I know the area really well. If you all need any help in thinking about how to get established or connecting with people, just please let me know. I'm happy to be your liaison as you transition here. And the guy's like, yeah, sure, great. That's wonderful. Let's meet next time. And then I was driving in the car with my dad and I was like, what is the benefit now, Dad? And my dad had to tell me, he's like, Beth, all the people that are moving in, even though they're not buying it, this is a rental situation. Even though they're not buying a home moving in, they still need to sell their home. And I'm like, oh, oh, yes. Okay, cool. Ding, ding, ding. And then the game was on. And so, I really have become very, very good friends, like family with these people now. And 3 times a month, I go and I make this presentation in front of 55 plus people who are thinking about selling their home and moving into a retirement community in March or May of next year. And I make a presentation and I say, "Hey, I'm Beth Schadler with Tried and True Realty in Asheville. I've been here since 2001, and it is my pleasure to help people downsize. And I partnered with different downsizing people in Asheville, and big companies, small people, any kind of formulation that works best for you, all the way down to like we will get you on your couch with your remote programmed and your toothbrush by your sink, and you don't have to worry about a thing." Um, and I'd be glad to just come and meet with you, and so you can kind of develop a plan and think about a budget for how much your home might be worth. And then I go sit at their kitchen table and I talk to them, and we develop a plan to list their home.
So beautiful. And I love, like, I just think when you are in this industry, you have to always have that ear for hearing these opportunities, or have people in your life like your parents who are championing you
Yeah.
and understand too. My gal Beth, you know what I mean? Like the my gal people. So that's so, goodness, that's gold. I love that. And your talent and the thing that you love that you've been manifesting is to get in front of people, to do presentations, to speak on video, to help people, and you've just like taken that and ran with it. I love it.
Thank you. And so I
So good.
got my senior real estate specialist designation. And if you remember back earlier, my main YouTube watcher is 50 to 70. Um,
It's awesome.
and then so my sellers are, and so I can like unite people like that as well really easily. And so it all just kind of lines up. Um,
Cool.
and in the Julian Woods thing, I've been working on for over a year, hours and hours and hours meeting with people, but also making these presentations and connect and making connections in the industry too, and interviewing people that they can partner with, that I feel comfortable presenting to them to start interviewing, because it's a direct representation of me as well. So it's just been amazing. You just never know what's around the next corner in real estate, and you have to have enough open space in your life to be able to take on different opportunities that present themselves to you, and the intuition and self-knowledge to know what feels good and then what feels off.
Yeah. And something that, again, I keep doing this, but I would love to highlight that you kind of mentioned is that not only did you get this opportunity, but you took it on to where you set up meetings to present and do those things. Like, you added value there, but also you then found referral partners in this industry of 55 plus. So you went and talked to movers, you went and talked to the right people that'll help seniors get rid of their stuff. That I know that generation right now has such, I think it comes from war times, like such hard time letting go of things. So you found those people that are emotional support people. You found this community that's lovely to move into. You found, I mean, like, the list goes on. And what's cool from that is you're going to get referrals and business from that tier of referral partners too, because you're adding value and helping their businesses, and it's going to explode.
Absolutely, because there's 128 units. Now, they're not all going to be at the same time that people will move into, but we do have. I did set up agreements with these people, and I'm like, listen, if I'm going to give you like this big bundled, nice little gift of like 70 referrals, it would be really nice if you could also refer me. And they're like, absolutely, let's do some trial runs and see how we work well. If we work well together, then let's do that. And they're totally open to it. And it just so happens that there's one company in Asheville that really specializes in senior concierge movement. And they are also charter members at Julian Woods. Their parents are. So it all just comes together.
So cool.
It's so cool.
So cool. Okay. Last question for you as we're wrapping up our time together. So, looking back again, what were the most valuable lessons you learned during your early years in real estate? And how have they influenced your current approach to your business?
Yep. When I first started, like my first week, we had in Asheville family tree meetup, and Matthew Ledford said to me, he won't see this because he's not a lady, but he said to me, the most important thing you can do in the beginning is to get the big engine rolling. And so for the last 2 years, I have had my head down. I have worked my tail off. If I'm vertical, I'm working or I'm parenting. And now, because I have done that, and because I've kind of found my path and made the connections and be open and also be closed and be boundary and all the stuff, because of that, I have got the big engine rolling. So I think there's a lot of times where we freak out and we are kind of in analysis paralysis and we're like, what are we supposed to do? Where am I? I can't do anything until I get KB core set up, or like, or, oh, I'm assistants. I've done this. And I'm like, I just got to get the big engine rolling, head down, do the things, and then you can breathe. And so now I feel like I'm finally over the hump of the big engine, and the train is going down the road or the track, and the momentum is there. Everybody's on board. They're having a lemonade and a lollipop, and we are going down the track, looking at the scenery, enjoying it. But I think in the very beginning, you have to make that commitment. And I'm really glad that I did make that commitment and that I had the knowledge base, and that someone said that one thing to me. You have to get the big engine rolling. I don't know why I remember that. I remember that one thing. I was like, I got to get the big engine rolling. I don't know
Yeah.
how long that takes. And I thought it'll take a year. And then after a year, I'm like, it's not happened yet. I'm like, it'll take 2 years. Okay, here we are now, and but I feel it now. Like there's been such a long pause of like the water has completely rescinded from the shore, and it's like, you know, and right now for me, it's like, and then the waves like going like this. And I think like
well said.
2 months from now, it'll be like, and we're like, like that's how I envision it. Yeah, that's where I am right now. And so that
Well
was the biggest thing, as Matthew Ledford said, you got to get the big engine going, which is not prolific, but in the same sense, it made a huge difference for me, because Rich Tomancini says it all the time. He's like, put yourself in that cage for a little bit of time and you will reap the benefits later.
Yeah.
Just do it. You do not have to love everything right now, especially if you're in the beginning of real estate. You do not have to love everything you're doing right now, but you have to do the things so you can enjoy it later.
Yeah. So well said. That is like a mic drop moment, because not only did you just like wrapped everything up that you said and yeah. Yes. So well said. I think it's so funny, like one person just saying that one thing that just like tipped it, and it was a mantra in your head, right? Like you continually was like, I gotta get it, I gotta get it, I gotta get the big engine rolling.
Sugar.
Yeah. And
What was
something
that
else.
train? What was that train book that we read when we
Oh,
were?
I wish I could. I wish I could.
I think I can. I think I can.
The little engine that could.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think I can. I think I can.
Something else that I heard, and I'll end on this, is like, unless you have something else too to say, but like I saw this little graph and I wish I had something to draw with, but it explained like success, and along the road of success, there's these brick walls that you hit. And I can hear that in your story and how you've gotten past that first wall. And it talks about how like you have a couple of those walls that you're going to hit throughout your success, but the fact is that you've gotten through your first wall of like pounding through it, and it was freaking hard work, and you made it. And so that second wall is going to be a little smaller and a little easier to get through, but it's still going to be there because you're going to have some more growing pains, and I loved that. I saw at one of our conferences, and I just loved seeing that picture because I am so visual. And I just hear it in your story, which I love.
Who's that guy? No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sitting in my kids' like playground spot. Like I'm like, I feel like a little creeper, but here I am. I pick them up.
Awesome, Corey. Well, thank you. And the most heartening thing has been being a part of this group. So
Thank
it
you,
really,
guys.
it really gives me the love and the motivation to keep going and be me, and everybody else be them. So So it's great.
It's so good. And like you said, like I just love how different a lot of these people are in this group, and yeah, and how inspiring you have been. And I just thank you so much for your time and letting me pick your brain. Love it.
Thank you, Corey.
Have a
Love you.
wonderful
Thank you.
day.
Bye.
Bye.